special meeting, January 29th. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby announce that this meeting is being held in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper notice of meeting dates has been given to the Morris News Bee and the Morris County Daily Record and posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Hall.
Feedback? Yeah, we can hear it.
Oh, you can hear it.
Yeah.
I have the headphones. Liz, do you know how to get rid of that?
No.
Just unplug it.
Just hold it.
Just hold it.
Are we ready, Karen?
I don't know how to get rid of the, that, like, do you know?
This meeting is a judicial proceeding.
Can you hear it? Can you hear that?
For each of you.
Here they come, huh?
That was an easy one. They need pretty pictures. Would you like one?
Thank you.
I drove this car to you can see those joints. This thing is pretty bad. So I'm gonna go
That help at all?
to me.
Hello?
Strain your
The mayor is going to be, and,
Not just because I want it.
What about the back piece?
let me see how far out.
I can hear this, but can you hear, is it back, is there a back there?
No, I don't hear any feedback right now.
No, there is, isn't
Okay.
there? Wait, say it again.
Okay, you should be listening to me, I don't hear feedback, does anybody else hear feedback now,
Okay.
when I'm talking?
No, I don't hear anything now. Good, okay.
Okay, so,
again, I heard you. Excuse me? Speak into that again. I don't have any, I'm not getting any. Yes.
We're hearing you. Hold on a second.
When you talk, it's coming through her speaker on her computer, on her laptop.
You can't hear, you don't hear from me. So you feedback. So don't.
Okay, now, how is everything now? I don't think I'm here. Speak into this.
okay, this meeting is a judicial proceeding. Can you hear it?
Say it again. Okay, now we hear nothing.
This meeting is a judicial
I know what you're
proceeding.
thinking.
I hear it.
Okay, let me just call the mayor.
We just saw him, he just walked in.
Oh, okay, good, good, then I'll get to this. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. So, when we left off at the last meeting, Mr. Keller was wrapping up. I think we kind of rushed through the end there to,
Still doing it.
We're still hearing it.
We don't have a mayor yet.
You still hear it?
Yeah, the mayor's in the building, give him a second.
I just don't want to start anything, otherwise it's
He
gonna
dives, I'm with the building.
right.
What?
Yeah.
He has to be in.
He has to be in his chair.
In the room.
I'm just
Yeah.
telling you that I walked in. But we're still hearing feedback. When I talk?
No, from all of us.
Yeah, it's coming.
There you go. Shout, talking.
It's coming out of her computer.
We'll fix it.
My little musical earbud things, like when they don't wanna hear them.
I like your socks.
Just for you.
Thank you, they match your dining
board
Okay, can you speak now, please?
Testing, testing.
Testing?
I can hear them. Can you hear?
No, can you hear it? Can you hear the feedback?
I can hear everybody, but no,
Yeah.
No feedback.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, Bill.
No problem.
Send in the bill. Right here, right to our. No problem.
So just give the mayor a minute.
This on?
Yep. Yeah, I'll take that.
Continuous testing.
Liz, you can probably plug it back in.
Okay.
That way you're not.
Oh, you guys.
There you go. That way everybody can hear you. Can't promise it's gonna solve the feedback issue, but
I know, alright,
hopefully that works.
thank you.
Yep.
It should be in the order of presented. The boards. Keep them as we click them. That's all I'm gonna
Makes you set for me, but it's not worry about it.
I have extra reason. Is this the one you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, make 15.
We could use one more
Oh,
for,
it's a whole group.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
for Mary Ann, who's not here. Did you give an extra one to Karen?
No, but I gave one for the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
The other person is missing, one person missing.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, one's mine. Can I use yours, James? Grab it.
Well, we don't need it right now.
You took away the
She's
president's
absent.
documentation.
He gets the big word.
You can give it to us at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, you can give it to
Oh,
us at the
okay.
end of the meeting, that's fine.
Sorry, James.
Just don't wrinkle it.
Your architect is very upset when you wrinkle my stuff.
I'm very familiar with this by
This isn't engineering, you know, this is architecture. There's a difference.
Do you mind? Can I just take a look at that?
Say it again.
Do you mind? Can I take a look at
Go
that?
right ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Here we go.
Ah,
I don't, no, that's fine.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, Karen, roll call, please.
Mr. Morgan,
Present.
Thank you.
Mr. Gardner.
Present.
Mrs. Kelly? Mrs. Stepler? Mrs. McCluskey?
Here,
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
John Bezel is recused. Mayor Carr?
Present.
And Mr. Drutzler.
Present.
okay,
All set?
we're all set.
Good evening. For the record, Tom Malman, Dave Pitney, on behalf of the applicant. First, we thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate having this special meeting. I know you've taken time away from your family, so we do appreciate that. So thank you for coming out tonight. We're gonna change the order a little bit. We're gonna have our architect Chuck Deed start tonight. He's been sitting here patiently for the last meetings we've been here. We're gonna get him on and show you some nice pictures of what these buildings are gonna look like. And when we're done with Mr. Deed, we'll bring Mr. Keller back and pick up where we left off last time.
Okay.
Okay? So let's swear Mr. Deed.
please, raise your right hand, state your name, spell your last.
Charles P. Dietz, D-I-E-T-Z, Managing Member of Dietz Partnership LLC, 90 East Halsey Road, Parsippany, New Jersey.
You swear or affirm the testimony you'll give this evening before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help
Okay,
you God.
Mr. Please begin.
Yes.
One more time, let me repeat it.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give this evening before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Dees. You a licensed architect in the state?
I am a licensed practicing architect in the state of New Jersey for the past 36 years. I also hold 14 other licenses around the United States. I have a Bachelor's of Architecture degree from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, New Jersey School of Architecture. We just finished I'm in my 41st year since I graduated, and my license is in good standing, and I did testify before this board many moons ago. I was actually the architect for the Stop and Shop for the site plan approval in all three corners for Mr. McGreevy back in the day. Everybody knows who he was. We worked for Arthur back in the day.
And you're prepared with plans on file with the board?
Yes,
You're familiar with this site and the development portions of the ordinance?
yes.
Any questions
Does
regarding the
everyone
file?
agree that, okay. Go ahead.
Perfect. Hi, Mr. Dees. Why don't we start?
Okay.
Excuse me just a minute.
Yeah.
Jack, do you want to sit over here so you can see better?
Actually, James gave me these copies,
Okay,
so
okay,
I'm good, thank you very much.
fine. Mhm.
I think, Mr. Brewer, we left off with A8 being our last exhibit last time, so we'd start with A9 this evening. That sound right? Okay. All right, Mr. Dees, why don't we start? You put up a board, I guess you marked that, pre-marked it as A9, correct?
Correct. What we have before you, I have A9, and then A10 will be two aerial drone rendering perspectives. So A9 is an aerial drone from Route 202 and the corner of Stop and Shop looking towards the 225 building, Building B, and the corner of our Building C. And then it does show you accurately all the high tension wires and cables that run through the site. And obviously the developments that Mr. Keller has spoken about many times directly behind the site. It also shows an accurate depiction of the driveway coming in off of Route 202, which we've imposed or superimposed the new striping that is shown on Mr. Keller's plan. But as you can see, it does not show the striping as everybody's discussed from the Stop and Shop approval that goes down the rest of the roadway as it brings you in. So this is more of the two aerials we're taking from two different directions to basically give the board an idea of what's actually out there today. So these are accurate drone images. Also in the front lower right-hand corner, you can see we've taken the existing Weichert Realty sign off that corner in the monument there, and we've designed and put our new pylon sign, which I'll get into later in my testimony, and superimpose that what we're proposing here.
I have a question though. Sure. You put these trees in here, I thought there were supposed to be trees underneath the power lines.
All these trees are based on Mr. Keller's plan, so I'll leave that answer to him if I could.
I thought he said there was no trees under the power.
Well, it's from her perspective, it's hard to tell where she has them, but they're shown as accurately per Mr. Keller's plan. I think maybe the angle of the perspective might show them under the power lines, but they're technically not there. So they match Mr. Keller's landscape plan.
We can pull it up later if we need to.
Yeah. And then, like I said, aerial rendering drone image A10 is taken from Johnson Road. And what this does is shows the balance of the proposed project. So we have Building C right up there at the top, Building H below it, Building D, Building E, Building F, and Building G. Behind it shows the back of Stop and Shop looking west on Route 10, the new driveway, and then the development across the street. And what I'll get into in my main testimony is one of the unique things about this property, and I've had it on a couple that I've designed in the greater Morris County area, is with having these many buildings all front-facing out on the roadway system, you not only have to design the front of the buildings with your high-end materials, you actually have to design the rear of the buildings with the same high-end materials. So if you look at my black and white submitted drawings, you'll see that the two buildings on Johnson Road, the two buildings along Route 10, all those have their backs facing the highway. So it was both the applicant's desire And my desire and standard procedure, when you have a shopping center like this as a mixed-use development, all four sides of the buildings are visible as you traverse your way through the site. So we've taken a lot of painstaking care in developing these elevations to probably be 90% identical copies of the front elevation, even though we will have utilities that'll be along the lower end of the walls, because you can't help but not have utilities, gas and electric. The other materials, the tower features, the brick, the stone, all the colors will match the fronts and sides of the building, so you have a cohesive design for all these freestanding buildings out in front that face a roadway and have visibility. And building C will have the same, because you'll be able to see the back of our grocery store as you come down the driveway off of Route 202. So I think that's important to know. And just as an example, if everybody's familiar with Morris Marketplace over by Menon Arena that just opened, I was the master architect that designed all the buildings there, and we basically had the same issue. That one, the fronts faced the road, but the rear actually faced the residential and the back building and the supermarket in Burlington. So we did the same thing, and the board was very pleased with our design when doing that, so I'm hoping we can get the same result here with this board, that we've spent the time and effort and expense to really elevate these facades to be good looking from the roads.
Does the drawing show the debris, where you're getting rid of the debris, the containers, roughly?
I believe Mr. Keller's drawings will show all the dumpster locations. Again, in my submission set, I show them in my plans if they were shown on Mr. Keller's. But yeah, they're shown, and he has them, they're all screened, so they're gonna be built out of the masonry materials that we're using on the buildings, with a gate that should remain shut, and then the containers will be inside. And we'll, he has them proportionally scattered throughout the site.
Brick enclosures,
Pardon me?
brick enclosures for the dumpsters.
I believe so, they're masonry, if not, they're CMU. Yeah, but they will be sturdy, they'll have gates.
No, a brick is what the policy is.
Yeah, we use a full brick veneer on all the dumpster enclosures.
Which is what we have on all our buildings, so if we need to update that on the dumpsters, I'm sure we can take care of that. And then we'll have a gate with the slats in it, so they'll be screened behind it as well. And again, what I'm gonna do is run through the renderings kind of quickly, just to give you the overview of all the different materials. And then I'm gonna spend a few minutes on how I came up with working very closely with the applicant. And I have to say, this has been a pleasure working on this job. The applicant has been hands-on and definitely had a theme and a thought process and a scheme that he wanted to pursue throughout the project with all the building materials. And I think you'll see that as we go through the renderings.
A11, Mr. Deeds?
So, A11 will be the 225 building, which will be the retrofit of the existing building there, that is kind of just a white stucco building with continuous ribbon windows along the facade. The redevelopment of this building is we're proposing retail on the first floor, except for some small office space on the westerly side of the building. You have to get past the stair and elevator tower, and we will develop that storefront similar to the rest of the shopping center with a canopy and storefront and accessibility. Mr. Keller has taken care of the accessibility into each of these stores. And then we're redeveloping the second and third floor to be all office uses. And the biggest change with the design that we came up with, I might as well get into it now, very classic, very traditional, very durable and sturdy materials. We're proposing brick. I have 4 different brick colors for the whole development, and they're interspersed amongst the buildings, and they tie in nicely. We're proposing a thin stone that will mimic a limestone. So we'll have the brick, the stone, we have very strong structural steel canopies, not the fake thin aluminum ones that you see so often nowadays. And unfortunately, Morris Marketplace has those. We have much more beefy, they're actually made of structural steel. They'll have the tie rods back to the building.
Push it away from you.
And one of the unique design features I came up with is not just have simple tie rods, a couple feet above the height of the canopy. I've made them an architectural element, and they actually come all the way back and are anchored to the facade above the second floor. So the canopies are at the first floor, and I have the tie rods coming all the way back, all the way up to the second floor. Another thing, what we wanted to do is get more light and vision of windows in the building. So we're actually cutting the framework. We're gonna lower the windows a little bit so they're taller, and we're gonna go a little taller right up to where the structure in the ceiling is. So the windows are now taller than what you see today. And again, to get away from that monotonous, continuous, horizontal ribbon window across the entire facade, I've introduced these decorative piers that you see. They're 9 feet wide, which will have the brick, the stone, and some decorative wall sconces on it. And that verticality breaks up that facade, I think, better than having long, continuous windows around 3 or 4 sides of the building. So we've made the windows taller. We've added like you'd find in your house, the internal muttons to break the windows again into squares, so you don't just have giant pieces of glass. And it was funny when I came over tonight, I came in a different way from where I live, and when I turned on to Speedwell, right before you get here, there's a building across the street from here, one of your older buildings that has all divided mullions in it. And I sat there at the red light looking, going, well, that's exactly what I'm trying to propose and what the applicant's proposing. So I thought it was a nice look. So again, to break up that look of having big pieces of glass, and because it's office, retailers don't necessarily like that. But for an office use, the key is just getting the light in. We can put all those horizontal and vertical muttons in to break those up. And then that continues around all 4 sides of the building. What you'll also notice is there are existing penthouse units on the roof that are unscreened today. What you can see on my elevation is we've taken a look at those, and we're gonna update the screening, and we're gonna clad it in the same brick veneer and stone that's on the building. So again, it does project above the roof, but by introducing the same materials that are on the facade, I think it makes it go away a little easier, and it's a little more palatable to the eye, and that'll go around on all 4 sides of the units. So I think it's a great job on the existing building of taking something that's, stucco, white, which has pollution on it for God knows how many years, and really introducing these earth tone, durable, classic materials, brick, stone, steel, and new window systems. I think it makes this building look brand new, and I think it's gonna be an exciting place. Weichert will be moving in to this part of that building, and we eventually get them there, and then we can knock down the 1625 building. So they will be occupying, so the applicant will be on site once this full development gets built. So I think this is very exciting and a huge improvement from what is there today. A12 is Building B, if you follow along in the site plan, which is basically almost in line with Building A, the 225 building, but it's further to the east. So it's at the back of the site, but pretty much the facades almost line up with the 225 building. This is again going to be a mixed-use building. We're proposing retail all along the first floor. Again, the introduction to the heavy steel canopies with the turnbuckle cables anchored back into the building. And then we've been able to create a recess, which will be a plaza, which Mr. Keller shows on his site plans and I show on mine, which again will be developed just like the 225 that Mr. Keller proposed earlier this month. They're still in the works to doing final design work for the amenities that are going to happen in these open public spaces, which we have throughout the entire site, and I'll highlight it as we go through. That gives you again another offset and some relief in the mass of the building. We've introduced again the brick, the steel, the stone bands, the decorative light fixtures. And then what we're proposing is both on the second and third floor is a self-storage facility. And if you look at that, I don't think you look at this facade and it doesn't scream self-storage. It's different than anything else you usually see. So a lot of times you'll see the self-storage and they'll have the glass in the windows and they have their lockers and storage units behind it, which we could have here. And that'll be vision glass, you'll be able to see them. But again, we now took the big rectangular and square windows and we put an arch top on top of it, just to break it up, give it a little more relief and a little different definition than what you have with the 225 building. Again, a Palladian arch like this, which is a very soft, flat arch, versus a Roman arch, which is a very tall round arch. I think again, it's traditional, it's classic in design, and I think it really enhances the facades. The gray part that you see between the brick elements is actually not stucco. We found a company that makes a thin concrete panel. That'll be what they call a rain screen, which means it'll be clipped to the facade with a weather barrier behind it. It'll sit off the building about 1.5 inches, and it's actually real concrete. So it's not stucco. Again, with that stone and brick, that durable look, and they come in big panels. The largest panels they make are 4 by 10. So we're proposing 4 foot by 8 foot sheets, which is a really nice size, again, for the proportions of these buildings. I think it really adds character to these facades, and we have it on another building out in the front of the property. But again, it looks like stucco, but it's actually real stone, cut into a thin piece, anchored to the facade in a rain screen system, and they come in nice big pieces. So it would look like real stone. When someone looks and sees concrete 4 by 8, you're thinking it's massive. It's actually thin, they can do it, they can span it, and they've already looked at these drawings and they told us they can do that. So we're very thrilled about introducing that product to go along with our very durable and classic materials that we already have on site.
I have a question. Question is, how do you get, it looks like you get upstairs for the storage on the back of the building, is that correct?
Right, so you have loading in the rear for the retailers, and then what Mr. Keller was able to do was take that same loading area, which would be on my sheet A11 as part of my architectural submission, which has the floor plan, and we're proposing 8,000 square feet behind unit, because we've broken these up, B1, B2. B5 would be shallower depth retail that you see in the rendering facing forward, and then we've given the self-storage people 8,000 square feet in the rear, which will house their office area. You'll be able to enter on the westerly facade to walk into the office and either get access or be able to rent a unit, the bathrooms for the office, the exit stairs, and the elevators. And then there's 2 drive-in bays where you actually can have the doors open up, drive in, unload your material. We put a freight elevator right in the corner so you can take it right off and bring it right upstairs. And again, there'll be a small storage space on the first floor as well, but the bulk of it will be on 2 and 3. And again, without doing a final layout based on the company that comes in that would operate it, and we've done self-storage, we think this works well. So it's hidden, it's not seen, it's basically back in the same area where we have loading at the back of B for the retailers. We have our small box truck loading in the rear of building A with the service corridor. So we're really pushing everything to the backs of the buildings on these here so that you really wouldn't see any of that coming from Route 10 or Johnson Road, or if you're traversing the site on our main boulevard coming into it. It's all at the rear of the building, so I think it works really well. So it's exciting uses that we think we can get on the first floor that'll help support whatever uses come in on the upper floor, self-storage and office between buildings A and B.
I have a question. It appears that there's a railing where it says self-storage on the right side of the building on the second floor. Is that a walkway?
Well, it's not really a walkway. We need access to get out because some of the decorative lights, if you go to my sheet A12, I have the second and third floor plans. And you can see, we pulled that section of the building between the brick piers where the gray stone is gonna be. We pulled the gray stone facade back about 5 or 6 feet. Again, to give some relief to the facade, so it's not a giant mass. And when you do that, you actually are gonna have a small roof area over the retail. So it's really not meant for anybody to be up there and walk around, but if they have to get out there, if a roof drain clogs or the light fixture goes bad, we provided doors so that someone as a maintenance person only should be going out there, not the general public. It would be basically controlled by the vendor who's using the space. But again, we thought it was important to try to get that relief. These are very long buildings. And again, both areas where you see that concrete panel system They sit back behind the brick facade a little bit, so again, it gives you that relief. But we caught that at the end and I went, let's put a railing just in case this happens, so. It would be decorative in nature if we do it.
A13.
A13's rendering is taken from a drone image. If you were in the parking lot in front of B and you were looking towards Route 10, Building C is the building that sits basically directly, almost directly behind the Stop and Shop building. That's our proposed grocery store or market. It's smaller than a full-size grocery store. It's way smaller than the ShopRite that's up the street. This is meant to be more of a specialty food store that can come in here. Again, facades are dominated by the brick, the Palladian arches, the integration of the horizontal stone bands at the top and on all the pilasters. Again, heavy structural steel canopies along all the facades. It has the opportunity to have entrances on both sides of the tower because there's parking on both sides of the building. So depending on how you get there and if the spaces are empty, you have the availability to get in closer to the entrance. You can park on either side, so we've given this tenant the opportunity to enter on either side. There's a space for the cart corral. So if you looked at my submission, that would be sheet A17. And again, sometimes it's helpful to look at my floor plans versus the civil, because obviously Mr. Keller's plans are at an engineering scale. At least my plans, because I just have one building at a time on a sheet. It allows you to kind of look at it and see more detail in the scoring on the sidewalk, where the landscape areas are, the decorative scoring to identify the entrance areas, the jogs of the building in and out. Now, what I did differently on building C, that corner, instead of insetting it, we actually pulled it out. So the corner element acts as a tower feature. It sticks out about 2 feet on either side, so it's really kind of prominent. It defines this is the entrance. Hopefully they can get a sign on both facades. Again, the canopies cover both sets of doorways. And again, we did it a little larger scale, but to mimic 225, we broke the large windows up with the mullions to break up those large pieces of glass. The thicker tubes you see are probably gonna be structural tube elements because this is a curtain-wall system because we're pretty tall, we're 20 feet in the air. So to resist the wind, we have to put some structural steel members in besides the buttons, so that's what we're showing there. But I think this really gives the flexibility and an opportunity for a specialty food store to come in here and really thrive. And you can see as you go down the rest of the facade, again, instead of having a long blank facade in between each of the arches, we've pulled out the pilasters. They stick out about 8 inches, masonry dimension. So again, that breaks up that mass of a horizontal wall. And now we have these vertical elements at a much smaller scale than we did at 225 building, but nonetheless, they help break up the facade. They go almost the full height of the building. And they'll continue down on both sides of the building and at the rear of the building that faces Stop and Shop. So again, you'll have 4 sides, all brick, all stone, all glass, in that color. And then off to the distance, actually you'll see in the same rendering is actually the freestanding pad, building building G. So again, my elevations show more detail, but that just gives you the perspective. You're looking across the parking lot towards Route 10. You see building G directly past building C, and then building F all the way on the front, which faces Route 10. I have a better shot of that in another rendering. But I think this gives you a little perspective. Now, to answer your question, sir, we took a little artistic license. We eliminated a row of trees. You see the 3 trees right in front of building C, but because building G and F are so far towards the front, and if we put the trees in that are shown on Mr. Keller's plan, you wouldn't see the building. So we took them off. They're on the plan. They will be installed, but for artistic license, just to allow the board members to see what these other buildings look like throughout the site, we had the renderer take those trees off just so you can see the building. Otherwise, we wouldn't bother showing them because all you'd see is the tree canopy. But if they're shown on Mr. Keller's plan, they will be installed that way, and you'll have a different perspective when you're actually there and in the parking lot. But for rendering purposes, it blocked too much of the facade, so we took them out. My architect, she couldn't come, she wouldn't feel it. She was maternity. A14 is almost in the same area of the parking lot, but instead of looking west, you're looking a little more southeast. And what you see in the distance facing Route 10 is Building E, then you see Building D, and then you're seeing just the corner of Building H. So you're almost in the same spot coming down the boulevard. One way you're looking west and north, the other way you're looking south and east. So we captured those three buildings with that rendering. And again, we have some of the different colored brick. In one of my last exhibits, you have it in your package, but I plotted it in color. So we'll show the multiple colors of brick we have, the stone, the metal, the stucco, because we do have some areas that are stucco in the back, what those actually colors look like. So again, these buildings are much shorter, much smaller in dimension on the footprint of the property. So we didn't want to go overboard with the big heavy red brick like we have on all the rear buildings. So we have some lighter brick colors proposed on these buildings. Again, what will always be there, if there's a canopy, it'll be a structural steel canopy with a tie-back system back into the facades. Here, because these are smaller retailers, they do want people to be able to see. And you want to see in, that you can see people are in the store, you can see the merchandise through the windows. So on all these front buildings, we took away those vertical and horizontal muttons that break up the big massive windows on the tall buildings, and we're showing traditional storefront down to the ground. And the predominant color is going to be black, so the canopies, the storefront, the metal canopies, metal awnings, everything is going to be a black, which shows up again on my material sheet, which I'll show you after. But again, we started lightening up some of the brick, the stone, the stucco, and the decorative features on these buildings because they're just smaller scale. And you need the important thing for retailers is location, parking, and visibility. So I think we have the location covered. We have really good distribution of parking throughout in front of each of these buildings. And lastly, we're giving them signage and their storefronts that are clear that will allow people to be able to see into each of these storefronts and see what's going on behind it. So that would be 15. So image 15, really we honed in and we zoomed in, and it's really looking at, from the parking lot and the boulevard, Building F. Building F, we were trying to get a little more creative in talking to the applicant to come up with a little different architectural language on this building. Again, this is one of the few that you can see there's actually a plaza between these two sets of buildings. So I believe it's F1, F2, then F3 and F4. And there's an open space that's at least 30 feet wide, pretty much almost the full depth of the building. How we connected all these buildings, we need a landlord and utility space for each of these. So, and we were limited to the number of buildings that you could have on the site. So again, if you look at my architectural floor plans, you'll see that they're all connected in the rear. E, F, D, G, all have these rooms that connect it. Those are gonna be the common landlord room, which will have the roof ladder. It'll have all the utilities, the fire sprinkler, the water lines. All the buildings will get gas and electric mounted on the rear wall. But again, we're able to introduce that feature both as a functional and as a design element. And as we develop between our office and Mr. Kelly's office, what these plazas will look like, we'll be able to do some decorative features on that brick wall that will sit at the back of these buildings. And again, it'll also be tall enough that the actual will act as a noise buffer, because obviously E and F sit right up off of Route 10. And everybody knows you're gonna hear some tractor trailers, cars going by. So if we're gonna create a plaza, we're hopefully gonna introduce some water features and some other neat things that'll allow and break up both the visual impact of Route 10 and the noise impact on Route 10. So we've introduced that. The building to the right, they're the only buildings that we actually did a gable roof with a decorative shingle like you have on your commercial house property. It's a unique feature, again with the canopy, and a lot of these are where we're proposing the restaurant tenants to come in. So in a couple of these stores, I think it's G and H and F. Besides the window, we're also gonna introduce a bay of garage door, so that they will be able, and that's the door that will open up closest to the plaza. And I did that in Livingston, at the Livingston Shopping Center where the Lidl is, where the Aldi's is. I did that center as well. It allows you in the warmer weather, a lot of this has come out of COVID, where a lot of tenants now like the ability to use the outdoor, and in warmer weather, they can actually roll up the garage door, so when it's closed, it looks like the rest of the storefront. But in the warmer weather, we can roll those doors up and you can have an indoor-outdoor dining treatment, which I think is really nice. Unfortunately, New Jersey doesn't get the longest season to do that, like we do in other parts of the country. But we're starting to see more of that because tenants are now looking, after what happened in 2020 and COVID, that ability to have indoor-outdoor space. So at the corners of these buildings facing on the plaza, you'll see, we'll be able to have a garage door opening that will really open those spaces up and be a nice change to the public's eye as they meander through the property to see that. It's becoming more and more popular, but it's not everywhere yet. But we've done it before, and it works really well. We've done it with Dunkin' and Starbucks around the country. Yep.
Materials, A16.
So this is my architectural sheet A34, but the reason we marked it is what's in your package is in black and white. So what I did is I had my staff plot it in full color, and what you see is a list of materials. And if you look at my architectural elevations throughout my set, we put designations, BR1, BR2, those are the brick. ST1, ST2, that's the stone. CF is the concrete panel, STF is stucco, MS is metal. So we've listed for you to kind of show you what we're trying to do, that these are high quality materials. We've coordinated this list with all the tags that show up on my architectural elevations. And then we pulled off the web the actual photos so you could start to see the different brick. The top brick, brick 1, is the brick that you're gonna see at the 225 building, and also at building C, the grocery. That's one of the only stores or buildings that get the same brick on 2 different buildings. Usually I've maneuvered them around in a couple different spots. But the applicant really liked that brick. It's a very classic, handmade, what they call a molded brick. And even though it's a thin brick on a panel system, they are a real brick. They are cut from a real brick product that's made and in a furnace, just like you would do real brick, but they cut it to a thin system that gets adhered to a clip system on the back of the building with a drip and a weep system. But it's not Garden State brick face, it's not any of these other products, it's a real brick face. And then you actually put actual real mortar between all the brick samples once they've been glued to the face of the building. So you would never know when you looked at it and touched it, that's not a full bed depth brick. And the reason we do that is what we found with the energy code, what it is today. To do a real full bed depth brick, I need the giant cavity and insulation behind it. The wall goes from like a 12-inch thick wall to like 19 to 20 inches thick, just to get everything in to meet the energy code today. So if we can get the same product, the same look, in a thin brick system, we do have a rigid insulation that's continuous wrapped around the building. Otherwise, you cannot meet the energy code of the state of New Jersey if you don't do this anymore. So the buildings will be tight, they will be energy efficient. They will have R30 on the roof, they'll have R19 in the walls, and then we'll have a continuous, probably 2-inch rigid wrap that'll go around all these facades before these veneers get put on it. So they're very energy efficient. We'll have high efficiency HVAC units on the roof. And again, it's not even the applicant spending this extra money. Any national tenant that you're gonna talk to, they demand it, and they demand even greater. So as a landlord today, you can't even offer space to these national type users unless you're on the cutting edge of the technology and the energy code, because they have to help pay those bills. And the Starbucks and the national users all demand it. So this is the way the retail world has gone. This applicant has agreed to do that, so that's what we're proposing. But again, it gives you an idea of what the stone will look like. We have 3 different stone veneers. All will be a smooth face, looks like a limestone, but there's 3 colors where there's some subtle difference. An off-white, a gray, and a little bit of tan in one of them. And we have, like I said, all the metals will be black, the storefront will be black, the canopies will be black. The stucco, we have a couple different colors of the stucco for the rear of the 225 building and the rear of the building B building. And then we have a couple areas of stucco on a couple of the smaller freestanding pad buildings.
You got copies of that?
Yes. Is that gonna be an exhibit?
This one's an exhibit because it's in color, but that actually sheet is in your set, but it's in black and white.
Okay, but.
So I marked that as an exhibit, yes.
So it's A16?
It's A16, correct. Because what you have in your set is a black and white version of it.
We can also submit the color.
Yeah. Well, again, I plotted it so it's in color, but your set, we did plot the bigger sheets in color. And it also shows the 2 decorative, or the 3 decorative sconces that we're proposing, which are in the lower right. The first one to the left of my title block is actually a 60-inch tall LED indirect light fixture, which is meant to be on the 225 building, the B building, and the grocery store building. Up high, 3-story, 2-story buildings, a lot of wall face. 60-inch sounds like a lot, but if you look at the drawing, they're proportionate and scaled to the facades. And I think it'll look great, and it gives a light glow off to the side. All the light fixtures I'm proposing have no impact on the lighting levels on the site or the dark sky code. Mr. Keller doesn't even have them referenced in his lighting calcs because they do not produce enough light that would cause any problem. Most of the time we propose them because we spend all this time and money as a decorative architectural theme, and you only get to see it during the day. What I like to do is try to still make the buildings as nice as looking as possible, because in the winter, it's dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock. For the rest of the day, and people are still shopping then, if we can introduce some decorative light fixtures, some goosenecks, and some other downlights to actually shine, accentuate the stone, the brick, the concrete panels, we like to do that, so at least you're getting this nighttime feel that's almost as exciting as what you see during the daylight hours. So the other 2 fixtures, the lower one just above my title block, that would also be on the 225 building. That's much smaller in scale. That's at a human scale. That's down at about the 9 to 10 foot size, so that's at the lower end of those vertical piers that you saw. They're still probably 15 feet or more below the large 60-inch pieces. So the light will not interfere, and they're meant to just shine directly down on the sidewalk and right up against the brick and the stone that's on those facades. And then the last fixture is the gooseneck that's right above it. We have those on some of the freestanding buildings where we have some awnings and some other pieces of work that we want to just get. Again, if we have a canopy or an awning and you want to see that at night, these lights create a really nice scallop. And what caught my eye, again, most times when I finish a center and I take pictures, I take daytime pictures. And when we left the meeting, last meeting, and I was driving home, and I went by Morris Marketplace, it's the first time I've seen the project completed with all my decorative lights on. So I would behest anybody, if they have the time and you're driving down Hanover Ave, and you can see that facility at night, that's kind of what we're trying to get, those nice light scallops, the nice decorative features along the facades. Just gives a nicer glow in the evening. Again, no dark sky problems, it's not gonna blind anybody's eyes, but it just gives a nice feel. What we won't have, if you look at Morris Marketplace, we have some towers that have some glass up at the top that we backlit with some LED fixtures. I did not propose that for these buildings, but that's the only difference. But I think we work hard in our firm to, again, try to make these facilities look as good, both winter, spring, summer, fall, and nighttime and daytime. The last 2 boards, we didn't mark because I haven't changed them. They're exactly what's in your sheets. They're sheets, my sheets A32 and A33, which are the designs at a larger scale for you to see. The monument signs we're proposing, which we're proposing 3. And if you were to look at Mr. Keller's site plan, we have a monument sign at the driveway coming in off of Route 10. We have a monument sign at the new driveway off of Johnson Road between building D and G. And then we have another monument sign at the back driveway. So we're proposing 3 monument signs, which as you can see are small in scale. We're proposing the exact sizes and square footage of signage to match your ordinance requirements, so there's no variance for height or sign area. And again, staying with
What
the
is
old.
the height?
So on the monument sign, if you go to the decorative feature at the very top, it's 15 feet on the monument sign. So that tallest piece is 15 feet, which has no signage on it. Then we're proposing a mesh grill-like see-through structure that we would put the name of the center, Highline Marketplace, mounted on that. And then again, this exposed structural steel, which is prevalent throughout the design of all the buildings. It would be black, painted black, but real structural steel. Maybe we'll even accentuate it with exposed bolts or rivets to really give you that feel. And then we're proposing 8 tenant signs that would sit on top of a concrete base so it doesn't go right down into the dirt. And when you do the total area of the tenant signs and the sign for the name of the shopping center, we're allowed to have 125 square feet, and we're proposing 124.88 or 125 square feet. So the bigger monument is the one on Route 10. Johnson Road has a separate set of guidelines. The height is shorter, only allowed to go 12 feet. So now we're 12 feet to the top of the decorative structural steel. Same spot for the name of the project, same tenant signage. And on Johnson Road, we're only allowed to have 75 square feet of signage, the name of the center and the tenant sign. And again, we're at 74.88 or 75 square feet of signage. These would be both side signs. You'd see them in 2 directions going down Johnson Road. Again, you got that kind of cool mesh see-through look that lightens up the structural steel that you have both in horizontal and vertical piers. And then we'd have internally illuminated sign cabinets like you see so prevalent. That'll probably have a plexi face with a vinyl letter. And then we'd have a raised letter that would be pinned to the mesh for the Highline Marketplace, which I think is very cool. Both sitting on a concrete base. Last one. Okay. We're proposing 2 pylon freestanding signs. Again, the taller one that you see to the left is shown on Mr. Keller's plan on Route 10 at the main driveway. We're allowed to have 25 feet in height, which we have all the way up to the decorative steel at the top. And we're allowed to have 200 square feet of signage area, which would be this mesh and the tenant signs. And we have 199.91 square feet if you add all the signage up. So again, conforming. This one tends to be a little more airy and light because we have the vertical mesh with clips that'll support that, and then we just have the structural steel at the top and at the base. So even though it's a pretty good sized sign, once you see all the nice colored sign panels that will go on it with the tenant faces, where the Highline Marketplace is going is basically an open mesh structure will let air and light through it, and then we'll have these pin letters on it, and they're lit with some ground lights, and then the internally illuminated cabinets. And then the second sign is at the driveway, like you see in my aerial rendering, over at Route 202. And at 202, we're allowed 20 feet of height, which we have again to the decorative top, and we're allowed 125 square feet of signage, and we have 124.67 square feet of proposed signage. So again, same design, just smaller panels, smaller proportions on the vertical and horizontal elements. And I think they really will tie.
So that one is on 202.
This is
The last
202,
one
and this is on Route 10.
is on Route 10.
Correct.
And the other 2 signs were where?
The other 3, there's another small monument on the other side of the street that's closer on the side of the driveway on Route 10. And then there's 2 at the 2 driveways, one between D and H, and one coming in the back of B. So you'll get 3 signs along Johnson Road, or 2 signs on Johnson Road, 1 monument on 10, 2 pylons, 1 on 10, 1 on 202. All at the driveways and main entrances. And that was one of the key focal points that I know Mr. Keller laid out, but jointly as a team between the applicant, Mr. Keller's office and my office, one of the key themes that the applicant wanted to do was make that main driveway coming in off of Route 10 a little more special than just an access drive and you turn in and you park. We've created, it's nice and wide, it's got a landscape aisle, it has sidewalk spaces in it, and we're really calling it a boulevard. We're not parking in it, but it'll have a divider between it, so traffic coming in or traffic going out are subdivided. I think that also helps as a traffic calming, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but it helps slow people down. And again, when you can soften a roadway with landscaping, pavers, decorative, scoring along that, and then create this feature, when you come in Route 10, you basically come in almost to the middle of Building B. I think that's your nice focal point, and then you can either turn left or right and traverse east and west, and go in front of the 225 building or Building B. So I think that was a key element that we all decided was important. Our original site plan did not have that. Mr. Keller was able to widen that roadway so that we get the full effect of the boulevard feature there. So again, I think
Keller just put up, I guess, the site that we had last time, Eric. What was that number?
A2.
A2.
So that's what you can see on A2. Here's your main driveway. You basically come down this boulevard, which is tree lined, some landscaping, and it really helps define and break kind of an east-west parking field. So again, it doesn't look like one massive parking field like you'd see on so many other shopping centers on Route 10. So I think it not only helps visually for the public when they pull into the center, it helps for anybody that could be on Johnson Road or Route 10 looking in that funnel between buildings E and F and seeing this boulevard feature. I think it's a very enticing and encouraging feature to add, and I know Mr. Keller went to great lengths to get that to work. And we all think it's an important element. So as Mr. Keller has laid out a very comprehensive and cohesive site plan, I tried to do the same with the architecture. Even though we don't have the same color brick everywhere, the same color material everywhere, I think there's enough overlap between the materials that it gives you that unification, and it's a comprehensive design. It has intent, it has durability, it has aesthetics, and I think this could be a tremendous asset to the community when the entire project is completed. I think we could draw some really nice tenants to this property because of its visibility, its accessibility, and its location on the highway system. And I'm excited about this project. Like I said, I've done 3 projects in 3 different towns, all on the same corner. So I not only did Morris Marketplace, I did the little shopping center on Horse Hill across from the ShopRite that has the pet store in it, and then I did the TJ Maxx Center with the Ulta and the pancake place. I did that one first, so I did those 3 shopping centers in Morris County, each one's in a different town. One's in Hanover, one's in Morris Township, and I think one's,
Two in Hanover.
I guess 2 are in Hanover, one's in.
More sense advertising then, because this will be much better.
This is gonna be, I keep improving, every time I get a job, I keep improving the architecture. So I think we've really hit a great spot, and I think I've achieved what the applicant was trying to achieve with this theme, with classic, durable materials, that he expects this to be here a very long time in the township to be successful. And we've given him the products that will sit on these buildings that are very durable and will last a very long time, and will lower the maintenance for him on these facades, and still give the flexibility for different tenants to come in over the life of the center and set residents up in these buildings.
Can we take like a 2-minute break?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm done.
Where did you shop things in Hanover?
The TJ Maxx Center on Hanover and Ridgedale. It has the IHOP on it, the quick checkout in front on the one side. Yeah, across the road. I did that first.
Those were practice.
Yeah, those are practical. He didn't want to spend a lot of money. That was back in 2014. The pet store, the bagel shop, the cake butt place, and the Petco or PetSmart or whatever it is, directly across the street from ShopRite on Horse Hill side. I did that shopping center. Then I moved over to Morris Marketplace. And then the pièce de resistance in Morris County. Exactly. I also designed the Whole Food Shopping Center in Parsippany at Route 46 there. That's 200,000 Gorky Plaza, I designed that entire shopping center. So it just gives you a feeling of the type of architecture. In my 38 years of practice, we specialize in retail and mixed use.
Yeah, it's just like.
No, we're bantering. It's a banter.
Off the record.
We're pumping meat.
Chuck, this is the,
Sure.
Well, it looks like you enjoy your work.
Colored one? Sure. This is the smaller version of it.
Go out in the world, you can see
It takes up less space.
I've done 38 years, that's what always keeps me coming.
It has these at the very back. Right,
Where's
let's
the back
sheet
door for the
832,
project?
832, 833, and 834, and you see what I'm saying? Right, that's right, that's color. Black and white.
I've got colleagues who do deal with that. They just fight me.
You go in everything that's-
I can show positive bills because of my efforts.
Sure. Not a problem. Whatever you need is yours. Game of the Sorry, we were getting a little publicity for Deeds Park. Free advertising. Sorry, Morris County.
this is the nicest one.
And I've been in Morris County since 1987.
Well, it's nice for the property owners to be here as well, this is his front yard.
You're welcome. Unless I have to carry.
Wait for questions.
I started my career in Morris Plains, Mr. Mayor, with Mr. McGreevy, and now we're gonna, not ending my career, but not quite yet, but I'm almost there. I'm peaking.
This will be the showcase for the rest of, moving forward.
Exactly. I worked with Mr. Keller's off and on in Orange County, most of those Orange County projects.
You started.
Okay, thank you.
I
So
do
we're-
stand